Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Kendall Gilding.
Good afternoon. Our top stories this Tuesday. Attacked in their own home, a Sunshine Coast couple threatened and robbed by a gang of men armed with a baseball bat and gun. A statewide health alert issued, contaminated saline linked to a hospital patient's death. Australia launches the toughest anti-vaping laws in the world to tackle rising rates of addiction. And heavy rain and storms lash the state. More on the way tomorrow. Tony has the forecast. Good afternoon. A couple in their 70s has been attacked and threatened in their Sunshine Coast home by a group of masked robbers. Police are still searching for the men. Garth Burley reports.
Good afternoon. The porch of this Beerwah home behind me is littered with shards of glass. The sliding door shattered after a violent home invasion that has left an elderly couple terrified. The gang smashed their way in around 11:30 last night, armed with a baseball bat and a handgun. Police say two of the intruders held the elderly pair against their will in their own home. When the 75-year-old man went to protect himself, he was struck with the bat.
Pretty harrowing incident for those two elderly victims. They're both seeking medical treatment.
The masked group, believed to be men in their 20s, stole cash and even the couple's phone. Detectives don't yet know whether they left the scene in a car or on foot. Anyone with CCTV or dash cam from the area at the time here in Beerwah is urged to come forward. The armed group remain on the run.
Queensland Health has issued an urgent alert to hospitals with a patient's death linked to a dangerous bacterium. The source is being investigated, but it's suspected the bug was located in contaminated medical fluid. Joel Dry has more.
Hospitals around the state have been ordered to stop using a number of saline products after a bacteria outbreak was detected. There have been 3 confirmed cases of the Ralstonia bacteria in Queensland. One is linked to the death of an elderly patient at Bulletin Private Hospital on the Sunshine Coast.
I am not in a position to comment on the extent to which the infection contributed to that patient's death. The matter has been referred to the coroner.
Nationally, there are 44 cases and authorities have connected many of them to a saline product manufactured overseas. It's used for wound cleaning or clearing IV drips. The Ralstonia bacteria is most commonly found in rivers. It's usually harmless to people but can cause issues for the immunocompromised.
We see it occasionally. It's just not a common bug to identify in human specimens because even though the organism is common out there, it's in water samples, you don't normally see it in clinical samples.
Authorities are continuing to investigate the outbreak and the death of the patient at Bulletin Hospital. For now, the product has been set aside, but there are plenty of other alternate saline products and care at the state's hospitals won't be impacted.
Thousands of medical scans are waiting to be analysed at Gold Coast University Hospital, despite Queensland Health committing to checking them. Jordan Quinn, the backlog was supposed to be cleared a month ago.
Kendall, 54,000 outstanding images were due to be checked by October. We're now in November and 40,000 are yet to be seen by a radiologist. That includes an additional 23,000 which have been taken since then. The Health Minister previously admitted the backlog was concerning and unacceptable. It is important to stress every single one of these images have been checked and seen by a doctor. However, it is practice for them to be seen by a radiologist.
Well, it could be very dangerous. There could be diseases that have been missed. There could be cancers, there could be spread of cancer, it could be a range of different things that might be missed.
The private sector has been helping with the backlog, but Gold Coast Health has admitted in a statement there is insufficient capacity in the sector to deal more quickly with the queue, meaning it could be some time before all these images are properly analysed.
Jordan Quinn reporting live from the Gold Coast. Thank you. The fisherman missing off Moreton Bay has been identified as New South Wales man Matthew Bolange. A large-scale search was launched yesterday morning after he disappeared on Sunday. His fishing boat has been found, but Bolange remains missing. The search off the eastern side of Moreton Island continues this afternoon. The Gaza Strip truce deal allowing for the exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian detainees has been extended by 2 days. The news coincides with a desperate plea from Israeli hostage families who have flown to meet with the PM to highlight their cause. Here's Chris Reason.
Good afternoon. Well, the deal to extend the ceasefire was something longed for by hostage families and indeed by Palestinians. Another window of opportunity to get more people back and reunited with their families. It came shortly before they released the fourth and what was meant to be the final release of hostages from Gaza by Hamas. 11 more in total. 2 mothers, 9 children, the youngest just 10 months old. That takes the total number of hostages released over the 4-day ceasefire to 50, plus an extra 19 foreign nationals arranged inside deals with their countries. It still leaves more than 160 hostages in Gaza, mostly men. In exchange, Israel released another 33 Palestinian prisoners overnight, with hopes of another 20 Israelis and 60 Palestinians to be released in the new 2-day ceasefire extension.
We're going to keep working for an extension to the pause again. Absolutely, that's what we want. We want to see all the hostages out, and this is the best way to get them out.
And in the attempt to raise the worldwide awareness of the plight of the hostages, a group of 5 families have flown out from Israel to Australia to meet with the Prime Minister and various premiers. It's the first time we've heard directly from the victim families, and their testimonies today were deeply emotional. Here's Tali Kisner, mother of Segev, who was gunned down by Hamas on October 7.
I'm mother of Segev. This is my boy, my beautiful, clever, handsome boy. This is the most important thing, that people in the world who are saying that we're faking, I don't know what we're faking. My tears are true. The tombs of those who are lying in the Israel land together are true.
It's all part of Israel's attempt to push back on the global wave of support for Gaza. They know the war has turned a lot of the world's opinion against them. They are fighting to win back that support.
The Communications Minister says Optus will be interrogated in a review of the telco's network-wide outage from earlier this month. The inquiry will look at how to ensure 000 works in the event of future disruptions, plus the handling of communication to customers and compensation.
This will be led by Mr Richard Bean, who has a long and distinguished history in the sector, who is formerly of the Australian Communications and Media Authority.
A final report will be handed to the government in February next year. Disposable vapes will be banned in Australia from next year in what's being described as the toughest anti-vaping laws in the world. Political reporter Jennifer Beshwati has the details.
Yes, good afternoon. Well, these strict laws are designed to stop a new generation of Australians becoming addicted to nicotine. Research shows more teenagers are taking up vaping, with the fruity flavours and disposable nature of them appealing to the younger generation.
Australia's in the midst of a public health catastrophe at the moment, as hundreds of thousands of young Aussie kids take up vaping, and for the first time in decades, we're seeing vaping lead on to tobacco smoking. It's appalling, it's a public health disaster, and it has to stop.
Now the federal government is taking action. As of January 1, all disposable vapes, including those labelled as not containing nicotine, will be banned from entering the country. As well, new laws will be introduced next year to ban the sale of all vapes from March, unless you have a prescription.
These are the vapes that are deliberately sold to our kids. These are the vapes that have pink unicorns on them, bubblegum flavouring, disguised in order for them to hide them in their pencil cases. This is not a therapeutic good to help hardened smokers kick the habit. This is a good that is deliberately targeted at our kids to recruit them to nicotine addiction and then to cigarette smoking.
And the federal government is also investing tens of millions of dollars to ensure that Border Force can seize illegally imported goods at the border before they hit the streets.
Now for a look at the weather, and Tony, the rain has arrived.
Good afternoon, Kendall. Yes, a few drops of rain on the roof last night before it eased back this morning. Then it's all setting in again this afternoon. Showers spreading to more soaking rain right across the region here. Now, there has been some talk of storms in the southeast today. That is not the case. We're seeing this steady, moderate rain. Having said that, we have seen some rain totals push up over 50 millimetres for parts of the Gold Coast since 9 a.m. Plenty of water pulling around the roads and any low areas there. Definitely a good day to have the umbrella handy. Zooming out, we can see that rain contracting east this afternoon, running from the Capricornia down towards the southeast. Cherbourg picked up over 150 millimetres with storms last night. Looking ahead, the rain should clear offshore later this evening. Then we need to watch for another round of potentially nasty thunderstorms over southern parts of Queensland tomorrow. Starting over the Darling Downs, we could see the tail end of that activity in the southeast towards the evening. Kendall, I will be back soon with the forecast.
Thank you, Tony. We'll see you soon. Should Queenslanders have to pass a test to drive on the beach? Up next, hear the debate. Also, Aldi workers spark outrage after being caught wasting fresh produce. See the video. A truck crash causes traffic pain on the Bruce Highway, and the bizarre slang that's been crowned the word of the year.
In 7 News, the southeast on storm alert. Tony Auden with our wild weather. Close call for schoolies. A tree spears through their car. Plus roadworks roulette. Delays for drivers. Projects in limbo.
Sold.
And the suburbs where it's cheaper to buy than rent. 7 News at 6.
The Bruce Highway was blocked early this morning when a B-double carrying food rolled north of Gympie. The truck blocked both lanes of the highway. The driver, a man in his 30s, wasn't injured. Traffic was diverted around the crash, but delays lasted into the afternoon. Work has started on the second Bruce Highway through a $107 million early funding boost. Also known as the Inland Freight Route, it will stretch almost 1,200 kilometres, connecting Mungandai on the New South Wales border to Charters Towers, making it a shorter route with less traffic for trucks to travel across the state.
Early works have begun, kick-started by a $20 million bridge upgrade over the Dawson River, just north of Injune.
The federal government has also committed $80 million to the project. Aldi workers in Townsville have sparked outrage online after being caught throwing out fresh produce. Video shows employees tossing fruit and vegetables into a skip bin. The store opened 3 days before the clip was taken. The supermarket chain has admitted the waste was unfortunate and due to overestimating the amount of produce needed for the launch. New research shows drivers using Queensland beaches are taking more risks with potentially deadly consequences. And for more, I'm joined by Levi Anderson from the University of the Sunshine Coast. Levi, your research has uncovered some alarming results about the risks some drivers think are acceptable.
Yeah, so when we were conducting this research around Easter this year, what we found was when we were talking to the drivers that one of the main reasons motivating their decision to offend on the beach was influence of peers either in the car or that were travelling with them, followed by a lower perception they were going to get caught for their offending.
Well, safety advocates have called for new laws to force P-platers to pass a test before taking their vehicles off-road. Do you think that would work?
Well, I understand where these calls for education and training for young people are coming from. There's not currently enough research that would support any kind of change to a legislation or a mandate. But, you know, the offending that we're seeing on the beach isn't just coming from P-platers, and I think that anyone could benefit from additional education and training in these environments.
We're coming up to a very busy time on our beaches. Based on what you've learned, what are your tips for drivers to stay safe on our beaches this holiday season?
I would recommend if you're heading up the beach or off-road over the Christmas break, remain vigilant. You know, keep an eye out for washouts, soft sand, semi-buried debris, and speed limits are just the maximum. You really need to drive to the conditions, which may be slower than the posted speed limit. So just remember all road rules apply on our beaches.
Levi Anderson, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
New Zealand's new government has drawn criticism from health experts, announcing it intends to scrap its world-leading smoking ban. The legislation, introduced by former Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, would have outlawed cigarette sales to anyone born after 2008, potentially saving thousands of lives. Under new PM Chris Luxon, the measures will be axed before March next year to fund the coalition's tax cuts. Nearly 500,000 people have been left without power after a deadly storm smashed Crimea. Building in the Black Sea, it knocked down trees and power lines, leaving at least one person dead. Wind gusts of up to 144 kilometres an hour were recorded. It's part of the same weather front that brought blizzard conditions to Eastern Europe. Agnes Water Main Beach was closed after drone video showed 20 sharks swimming behind the wave breaks. It's believed they were hunting bait fish. The clip was shared to social media late yesterday, the videographer saying they've never seen so many at once in the area. A bombshell book on the royal family hitting Australian shelves. Up next, the revelation sending shockwaves around the world. And in sport with Webby, it's finally home. The World Cup arrives, but there's no rest for our miracle men.
Lobster dinner, still going 3 years on.
An absolute living nightmare.
The monster bill now in the federal court.
They'll do whatever it takes to prove their innocence.
The sisters out to prove the fresh menu was actually frozen. On 7 News, 6 o'clock.
Surfing champion Mark Richardson had a heartwarming reunion with the Life Flight crew who saved his life. 2 months ago, he was on an emergency flight back to Australia after falling desperately ill on a holiday in Bali.
I remember the jet engines. I remember hearing them. It was a beautiful sound. I knew I was on my way home.
Now he's recovered and back doing what he loves the most, surfing. A British author has revealed he knows the identities of the two royals accused by Meghan Markle of commenting on Prince Archie's skin colour. It's not the only allegation Omid Scobie is making. Europe Bureau Chief Hugh Whitfeld reports.
Extracts and leaks have been published for days, but the book is now on sale with claims that the King called his son Harry a fool for his Netflix documentary and that His Majesty likes his shoelaces ironed. There are also claims that it wasn't just one, but two royals who commented on Prince Archie's skin colour before his birth. The allegations famously made by Meghan when speaking to Oprah in 2021. Here is the author, Omid Scobie.
I do know who made the comments about Archie's skin colour. The names were mentioned in letters between Meghan and Charles that were exchanged sometime after the Oprah interview. We know from sources that Charles was horrified that that's how Meghan felt those conversations were, and that he wanted to, sort of as a representative of the family, have that conversation with her.
Omid Scobie says he can't name those two people for legal reasons. Among the other allegations in the book that it was Princess Anne's idea to evict the Sussexes from Frogmore Cottage. There is a growing rift between Prince William and the King as William fights for more power in the monarchy, and that the Princess of Wales is cold and has been dubbed Kate Keen and was considered coachable by the late Queen, unlike Princess Diana. Critics have compared the book with Prince Harry's memoir, Spare. The New York Times has been quite critical in its review, saying some parts read like an AI-written press release.
The cost of living crisis is reshaping our vocabulary, with Macquarie Dictionary naming Cosy Lives its word of the year. Cosy Lives is short for cost of living, and its use is growing in popularity with young Australians. Macquarie says terms like Cosy Lives and Menti B, which is short for mental breakdown, are used to help downplay serious topics. Webby, I have a feeling you and I will not be using those words.
You are correct about that. But thank you, Kendall. Hello, everyone. Still celebrating their World Cup win, Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins have dismissed suggestions they could be rested this summer. The pace duo presented the trophy today at the SCG, both already back in the nets, despite a heavy workload that also included winning the Ashes and World Test Championship. Neither is keen on being rotated or rested.
Realistically, the word rested and rotated gets thrown around a lot, but you never miss a test if you're fully fit.
The first test begins against Pakistan in Perth on December 14, live and free here on 7. Dolphins missed to fix it. Cody Nikorima insists his future is at 5'8", revealing his desire to start next season where he finished the last. Redcliffe's super sub played all across the backline and at hooker, but will now fight to make the number 6 jersey his own.
I've got that utility tag next to my name, but like I said, I'll be going into next season, wanting that 6 jersey, and I'll be competing.
Nikorima played 11 games at 5'8" last season. With or without Dakota Davison, the Lions are confident they have enough weapons to cull the Kangaroos in Sunday's AFLW Grand Final. Rehabbing her knee away from the team, she's still got more hurdles to clear. Kicking a quarter of their goals this season, the next best, Sophie Conway's booted 12.
We've got the versatility within our group. We're very flexible, and obviously that's a key part, I think, as to why we've probably done so well this year again.
Davidson, Conway and Ali Anderson earned all Australian honours last night. Kendall will have the rest of today's sport at 6.
See you then. Thank you, Webby. Time to see what else is coming up in 7 News at 6 and our Gold Coast Bulletin. Sharon and Steve are here. Good afternoon to you both. Sharon, there's been a deluge in the southeast.
Yes, Kendall, the rain just keeps coming. Widespread heavy falls causing fears of localised flooding. We'll have the latest warnings plus details of the storm threat tomorrow. Also, we have an expert guide to bubbles on a budget, including the $15 dupe for Bollinger champagne. Sounds all right. And a legal fight over a seafood dinner that has gone all the way to the federal court. And that's one dining disaster story, Kendall, you won't want to miss. A very expensive dinner.
That and the champagne story. I'll be tuning in. Thank you, Sharon. And Steve, there's been a win for People Power in Southport.
Kendall, residents took on a very controversial youth facility they claimed was linked to climbing crime rates. But is their fight really over? Also, tensions flare over the future of a major music festival and the photo that has the coast guessing. Is it a shark or a dolphin? You decide at 5:30.
You've got us hanging on the edge. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Sharon. Our Gold Coast viewers are off to the chase now. Then you can join Amanda and Steve for your local news at 5:30. And of course, Sharon and Max are back with the whole team for 7 News at 6 o'clock. For the rest of Queensland, hospital failings. The government grilled on deadly ambulance ramping. Plus, Brittany Higgins arrives at court in Bruce Lerriman's defamation showdown with Channel 10. Cruise ship passengers back on dry land after being trapped on a trip to nowhere. And later after the weather, cricket legend Shane Warne's legacy being carried on by his children. Their plan to save lives.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Kendall Gilding.
Good afternoon. Making headlines this Tuesday. A Beerwah couple aged in their 70s has been attacked and robbed in their Sunshine Coast home by a group of masked intruders. Police are still searching for the men. A fisherman missing off Moreton Bay has been identified as New South Wales man Matthew Bulletin. Authorities have resumed their large-scale search today after his boat was recovered yesterday morning. And the federal government will ban the importation of disposable vapes from next year in what's being described as the toughest anti-vaping laws in the world. Authorities have declared a national health alert over contaminated saline following the death of an elderly patient at Buderim Hospital on the Sunshine Coast. Queensland Health is investigating whether the woman died after being administered a solution tainted with dangerous bacteria.
In Queensland, we have now seen 3 confirmed cases and 3 probable cases, all in private hospitals.
At least 43 related infections have been reported nationally. Queensland hospitals have been ordered to stop using 2 sodium chloride products. Channel 10's lawyers have foreshadowed that what they say will be graphic and distressing evidence from Brittany Higgins in their defamation battle with Bruce Lerriman. She arrived at court this afternoon ready to give her side of the story. Paul Caddack is there.
Good afternoon. As Bruce Lerriman finishes his evidence in his defamation trial against Network 10 and Lisa Wilkinson, this afternoon Brittany Higgins arrived at the federal court to give her testimony as part of Network 10's defence. 10's barrister outlining its case that the project interview did not name Bruce Lerriman, that the show was in the public interest, evidenced by the workplace reviews, inquiries and reforms, police investigation and criminal prosecution that followed, with Brittany Higgins, the first witness, called to describe in detail what happened that night in Canberra, outlining her allegation she was raped by Bruce Lerriman, with 20 other witnesses, friends, colleagues, family, security guards, police also set to give evidence. Earlier, Mr Lerriman faced questions from Mrs Wilkinson's lawyer about her controversial Logies speech, which he alleges prejudiced his right to a fair trial, agreeing he told Channel 7's Spotlight programme the 4-month delay that speech caused gave his legal team time to dig deeper into the case. Rather than feel upset, you actually think that the delay caused by way of the speech saved you from conviction. No, I disagree. Lerriman telling the court he had had his accommodation covered in return for doing 2 interviews for the Spotlight programme. Another speech also coming up, then Prime Minister Scott Morrison's apology to Brittany Higgins in Parliament. You heard the Prime Minister refer to Miss Higgins as having the courage to stand. Do you remember that? In his stupid Parliament speech, yes. Separate to the trial, a video of Lerriman has come to light, appearing to show him singing along to a rock classic with a change in the words. Network 10's defence against the defamation claim continues.
The High Court has revealed why it ruled immigration detainees cannot be locked up indefinitely this afternoon, releasing the reasons for its decision, which has seen 141 people freed into the community, including murderers and child sex offenders. The court found the government can only detain people when there is a real prospect of them being resettled in a third country in the foreseeable future. When there is no prospect of that, their detention becomes punitive and therefore constitutionally illegitimate. Meanwhile, one of the released detainees remains on the run this afternoon, evading federal police.
The Australian community should be assured that all efforts coordinated under Operation Aegis are being made to track down this individual.
The Albanese government is considering how it responds to the High Court's reasons. The Palaszczuk government has been grilled about the ambulance ramping crisis in Parliament. Marlena Wapp, it follows a difficult few weeks in the health system.
Kendall, we've heard heartbreaking stories of loss for families, and that's fuelled a lot of questions here at Parliament in what is the final sitting week of the year. The deaths of Wayne Irving from Boona and Kath Groom from Forest Lake are under investigation, their families desperate for answers. The opposition launching question after question in Parliament about the health crisis.
Does the Premier admit she got it wrong in the appointment of this health minister?
Definitely not, Mr Speaker. And, Mr Speaker, I will always back our health staff.
With reports of extreme ambulance ramping on the Gold Coast yesterday afternoon, exactly how many Gold Coast-based crews were free and available?
The Gold Coast University Hospital. The fact that they had such a surge in patients yesterday and never once reached capacity is a testament to the work they are doing and the resources that we are providing.
How many Category 1 and 2 patients were waiting for an ambulance across southeast Queensland the night Kath Groom died?
The Ambulance Commissioner and myself had said it took too long to get to Kath.
The Health Minister says the Queensland Ambulance Service is looking into how many Code 1s there were that night. Shannon Fentiman also saying a surge in COVID cases has also been keeping paramedics busy, Kendall.
State Political Editor Marlena Wapp reporting. Thank you. Thousands of passengers aboard a P&O cruise ship have finally disembarked after spending days stranded at sea. As James Hunt reports, the 13-day cruise was meant to be around New Zealand, but was diverted to Tasmania because of biosecurity concerns.
A cloudy morning greeted thousands of passengers who were destined for the land of the long white cloud, but have ended up back in Australia following a biosecurity bungle. P&O ship Pacific Adventure docked in the Tasmanian capital this morning after being denied entry to New Zealand due to a dirty hull. For thousands of passengers, it was the first time on land in more than a week.
I'm loving coming to Hobart. We wanted to come in February, couldn't make it. So Hobart, here we are.
I'm sweet, you know, rather be on holidays than working, so yeah, anywhere's better than nowhere.
The mood was mixed. Some furious at the detour, others more understanding.
The crew are wonderful. P&O could have done it a lot better.
I'm so angry about it. I just don't even know where to begin.
Anytime you book a cruise, you're booking and putting yourself in the hands of Mother Nature.
One couple heartbroken after their long-awaited wedding anniversary trip went off course.
It's been really hard to try and get our spirits into such a position that we can enjoy anything just yet.
For local tourist operators, the unexpected visit put the wind in their sails.
Tuesday was meant to be my day off. There'd be in excess of 1,000, so yeah, we can generate some business out of it.
The vessel will remain in port until tomorrow, moving on to Port Arthur before returning to Sydney later this week.
The UK has detected its first human case of a swine flu variant. The H1N2 strain has only been reported in 50 people worldwide since 2005. The case was discovered in routine flu surveillance.
Directly or indirectly to pigs, and so that's what public health officials are really working on now.
It's a separate strain to the one which caused a pandemic more than a decade ago. The Mona Lisa and Starry Night are among the world's most revered pieces of art, and now they've been reimagined to be enjoyed by more people. A sculptor has embarked on a decade-long mission to make art accessible to the visually impaired.
It was late in the evening, the wind was blowing, the stars were starting to come out.
It's a painting you've probably seen before, but never like this.
The little church, the little village down here.
Van Gogh's The Starry Night, Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, the world's most iconic works of art reimagined for the blind and visually impaired.
Most artists would not be very happy if I were touching their work, but you don't mind.
No, it's meant to be touched.
Tomas Bustos and his wife Jacinta came up with the idea after seeing the Mona Lisa at the Louvre more than a decade ago. Back home in Dallas, Tomas drew the Mona Lisa to scale, sculpted it in clay, and cast it in bronze.
I feel like I'm working right next to the original artist. I can see his brushstrokes. I can see his idea coming to life.
Months of painstaking work, all for a moment like this.
Beautiful smile.
There's the embroidery. I didn't see that the first time.
For Blake Lindsay, who has been blind since he was an infant, and Keila Alonso, who lost her sight at 12, the experience opened up a whole new world.
Describe what it was like experiencing Tomas's Mona Lisa.
It was amazing because I never knew what she looked like.
We see through our fingertips, and so it was really revealing.
Yeah, I really like that bowl.
Lessons in art and in life, built to stand the test of time.
Time for a check on finance now, and the market has rebounded from early losses. Here's Laura Bessarati from CommSec.
Good afternoon. Well, we certainly did have a better day with the market recouping about half of Monday's losses, with the Aussie market lifting by about 0.4% today, which means we're still on track to have the second best month of the year with only a couple of days to go. We also got an update on how much Aussies spent at the shops last month, which showed us we've cut back on spending amidst the cost of living pressures, an outcome that the Reserve Bank would be pleased with. In terms of sector performance today, most were higher. Real estate and banks led the gains. However, the energy sector was a wait after oil prices dipped by almost 1% overnight. Shares of Collins Foods, the company that operates KFC restaurants, performed best after reporting a jump in profit and a bigger dividend. And shares of Imugene climbed after getting the green light from US authorities to fast-track the development of its cancer treatment drug. Looking ahead, all eyes will be on the latest update on Aussie inflation, which could move markets tomorrow. And finally, the Aussie dollar currently buys 66.2 US cents. Have a lovely night.
Queensland's tightening rental market is pushing more families to the brink. Up next, where it's now cheaper to buy than to pay rent. And a dramatic police chase ends in chaos. See the moment the driver loses control.
Lobster dinner still going 3 years on.
An absolute living nightmare.
The Monster Bill now in the federal court.
They'll do whatever it takes to prove their innocence.
The sisters out to prove the fresh menu was actually frozen. On 7 News, 6 o'clock.
A police chase in Southern California has ended in dramatic fashion. A news helicopter capturing the moment a driver involved in a hit and run lost control and crashed.
Oh, whoa, 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 spinning out. Car door open. Oh, right into a tree. He just TC'd.
Police officers swarmed the car, arresting the driver at gunpoint. As rental prices continue to climb, it's now cheaper to buy than rent in parts of Queensland. Paul Ryan from PropTrack has been looking at the data. Paul, in what areas can renters save money by getting a mortgage?
Thank you for having me. We found a really strong trend where
particularly in units across Queensland, it is cheaper to buy than rent when we crunch the numbers at current prices. Places in inner Brisbane, as well as in the north of Brisbane, if people are looking to make the jump into home ownership, there are still good buying opportunities.
We know that conditions have been getting tougher for renters. How tight is the market now?
Rental market conditions are extremely tight at the moment. We've got rental vacancy rates of around 1%, really across the country, which is where any rental property that's advertised is snapped up almost immediately. Across Brisbane, rents are up 13% over the past 12 months. That's a huge amount of financial pressure for renters.
It really is a tough time for them. What is the forecast for the next few months? I mean, obviously we're heading towards Christmas. Typically, maybe things calm down at this time of year, but will it get any easier for tenants?
In the short term, no. That's the bad news. Rental market conditions are going to stay tight for the near term, but hopefully there's some easing both in the rental market towards the middle to late next year, and maybe some relief on mortgage costs. That's what I think a lot of homeowners and renters are hoping for later next year.
I think you are right. Paul Ryan from Prop Track, thanks so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
A storm has taken its toll on a riverbank Christmas display in Adelaide, sending a giant fiberglass whale for a ride down the Torrens. Locally known as Moby Dick, it finally became snagged on some trees about 600 metres downstream. The local council is now trying to work out how to rescue him and if he'll need any repairs. You're watching 7's Afternoon News. Still to come, how Shane Warne's children are honouring their father. And it's been a wet and overcast day. This is a look at Brisbane right now. It's currently 21 degrees. Tony has all the weather details next.
In 7 News, the southeast on storm alert. Tony Auden with our wild weather. Close call for schoolies. A tree spears through their car. Plus roadworks roulette. Delays for drivers. Projects in limbo. And the suburbs where it's cheaper to buy than rent. 7 News at 6.
Good afternoon, you're watching 7 News. Checking the weather now, and after a dry morning, the rain has returned to the southeast this afternoon. Steady rain right across the southeast at the moment. We've seen some falls over 50 millimetres for parts of the Gold Coast since 9 a.m. Now checking the temperatures, a little bit warmer than forecast thanks to that thinner cloud early in the day. Brisbane 21 to 28 degrees, Archerfield reached 27. Now zooming out across Queensland today, we have rain areas extending up towards the Capricornia, clear sky through central districts, but more storms in the far west here. A severe thunderstorm warning is current for damaging winds and large hail there. Onto the forecast chart, while that rain clears off the coast overnight, we'll see this trough moving right across the state tomorrow, triggering another round of potentially severe storms into tomorrow. They might reach the southeast late in the day. Around the capitals tomorrow, well, we're expecting a bit of wet weather across the nation. Sydney and Canberra, a couple of storms around. Melbourne looking at rain and 20 degrees. Back home to Queensland, amongst the dry conditions here, we're in for heat wave conditions across much of the Queensland coast in the next 3 days. Cairns and Townsville, a hot night, 25 up to 33 degrees, but partly cloudy. Over southern districts, again, that rain clearing tonight, then storms starting inland tomorrow afternoon before pushing towards coastal areas later in the day. Emerald, up to 35 degrees. Across the southeast, also drying up later on this evening, then staying dry, a few sunny breaks early tomorrow before storms in the evening, and they could be severe. Top of 29 degrees in Brisbane, then hot to finish the week. Kendall have all the details coming up at 6.
You're giving us a bit of everything this week. Thank you, Tony. We'll see you at 6. The children of late cricket legend Shane Warne are honouring their father with a new foundation. The Shane Warne Legacy will offer free heart health tests to help save lives. Blake Johnson reports.
Shane Warne's death is almost certainly preventing others. His family, including son Jackson, through Shane Warne Legacy, is preparing to launch a new heart test, hoping to have 23,000 across the country before the end of the year. Jackson says the tests are easy and provide essential health information quickly.
Because once you get this test back, you can quickly identify what you're lacking or what you've got too much of or what you need to lower, and it just gives you a massive peace of mind.
The information is fed to an app you can have on your phone. You will need a doctor to interpret most of the information properly and provide advice on what to do next.
So you literally walk up to a machine, you put your hand in, they take a little bit of blood, and it's done in about 5 minutes.
Shane Warne died on holiday in Thailand in March last year from a suspected heart attack. He was just 52. His family says if he'd taken one of these tests, he might be alive today.
This would be Dad's biggest honour. You know, there's been lots of honours over the last 18 months. People have sang songs and done minute of silences, but now to know that Dad's legacy since his passing is to save lives, I don't think he could be more prouder and more happy.
The official launch of the program is coming next month, with locations to be announced then. You can find more information at shanewarnlegacy.com.
And that's our 4 p.m. news this Tuesday. I'm Kendall Gilding. Thanks so much for your company from all the team. Have a great afternoon.